This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, welcome to the Mailbag here on the WWE Podcast. Let's get right into it. And welcome some brand new members here over on Patreon. Evan Cunningham. I think I said Chewiwi, but if I didn't, Chewiwi, welcome. As well as Lucas Leith. All of you, thank you so much for joining us on the WWE Podcast. And you guys can get everything ad-free. And if you want to join those folks and get your own ad-free experience, patreon.com/WWE Podcast for as little as $1. You get everything ad-free and more perks as you go up in tier, including our exclusive After Dark show that is released every single week and done by Anthony DeMarco. You can get that at Patreon if you're in a NXT Plus tier and higher. So let's get into it and let's talk WWE and start with patrons as we do. Let's start with Matt Brown, and he says, to the point, email is weak. The new, to the point email this week or is weak? I'm not sure. The new SmackDown ring announcer is horrible. Mike Rome is 100% times better. It's so obvious TKO and WWE wanted to promote her just so they could say they have two black female announcers. It's a shame, which with any other race, it's racist. Thank you and have a good weekend. Oh, we started out hot, didn't we? No rest for the weary on this one. We're getting right into it. Oh boy. Now, to be fair, I have made this point in the past that the TKO has its own DEI initiative. If you don't believe me and you think I'm just making it up and you think that it's just I'm just trying to stoke fear and anger and no. Go look at the annual report. As I've said, for TKO, it's in there. It's right there. In black and white, literally. Okay. So when you see that, and then you see them hire someone who is clearly less talented, and they're now not white, what do you think? Unfortunately, you think that they were hired simply because they were a specific color and not because of their talent. And it's unfortunate. But it is pretty obvious, right? Like Mike Rome is a lot better. But for them to be able to say, hey, look at what we did over here. It seems very much like that. They would deny it, but that seems very much what they've done. And especially when you compare her to Samantha Irvin, who is obviously the best ring announcer that they've had since Tony Chimmel. It's clear that she is not nearly that. And she does not have the temperament for it. And again, it just is what it is. I know people are going to, you play in the race car, keep politics out of it. Okay, well, I will once the company does. All right? And if, again, you think I'm making this up or trying to create crap, take the time. Go look at their annual reports. It's in there. All right? So, yeah, I would agree. It sucks. It sucks. And Samantha Irvin's done such a damn good job. But now they can say, look, the first ever two female black announcers. It's like, yeah, but like, why'd you hire them again? It sucks. It sucks. Because, you want people based on merit, not based on the level of melanin in someone's skin. I don't care who you are, right? Okay, moving on. Thanks, Matt. Hot. Coming in hot. All right. This is Dino. He says, he says, he's from Scotland. Sorry about last week. I should have included my links to the YouTube and X. I didn't think I needed to as I tagged you in my tweet. Anyway, well, I'll be honest, Dino, I don't look at every single tweet. So there is that too. I guess you must have missed it. So here's the link of my tweet. If you could give it a retweet, that would be much appreciated. I'm on X at BankyBoy, BHOY 420, and on YouTube at Dino96HH. My YouTube channel, and you give that link. Anyway, how cool was the Wyatt 6 debut on Raw? I thought it perfectly executed, although I did find it quite funny that people like Braun Strowman just show up the next week like nothing happened. I think things come across better on TV. Like you get a better feeling and understanding of things on TV than you do in person. For example, the Wyatt 6 debut last week probably came across way better on TV than it would have if you were there. I'm really looking forward to seeing where things go from here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the Creed brothers with Chad Gable. They could definitely start building their characters up under the leadership of Chad. But in terms of the wide six, I'll leave this as is. Bray was the artist, and these guys are the art. Well, I will say there is some merit to that, where things sometimes come across better on TV than if you were there. And the example of that, I think, most notably is when The Undertaker appears or the lights need to go completely out. If you're in the arena, there's enough lighting to see where The Undertaker comes from. It totally takes the magic out of the moment. On TV, obviously, you can mess with the filters so it looks completely dark, but in the arena, you can see where people come from, under the ring, through the crowd, down the ramp. They're like running so that they're there when the lights come on. It ruins moments, but the crowd still reacts, and they are just happy they're there for those big moments. Thanks, Dino. Let's go to another patron, longtime supporter of the show, DJ Kuzmo. He says, DJ Kuzmo back at it again, and how about that? We got new tag team champions on free TV. As the Judgment Day are tag team champions once again, this time with Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Quick question. Is the Freebird rule going to be in effect for this win for the Judgment Day? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. I mean, they had their first run, and I don't think it was under Freebird rules. It seemed like whoever won them, and no one else in the team could defend it on their behalf. So I wouldn't think so, but perhaps it is addressed. I wouldn't mind it. I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world. But here's the thing. Who else in the Judgment Day is going to defend it on their behalf? Carlito? Carlito's not really a part of the Judgment Day. He's still kind of working his way in. Rhea Ripley's not back yet, and even when she is, she can't compete for a men's title, although she feels like she should. That's another topic for another day. And Damian Priest is about to lose the belt, which means he's out of the team. So how are you going to have Freebird rules when it's really only those two that can carry it and defend it? As far as free TV goes, I mean, that's not really surprising, though, because, like, remember how often under the Vince McMahon regime specifically, there were title changes on free TV and title matches on TV? It was almost a weekly occurrence that there be title matches on TV and sometimes big title changes. So this unfortunately doesn't have the impact that I think it otherwise would. But I was not surprised by the title change, since Miz and Truth have been mostly forgotten after winning at Mania. However, I was surprised that Creative booked this win for the Judgment Day sooner than later. In the midst of the ongoing Liv and Dom story, Priest looking like a babyface champion as he starts a program with Seth, and what's really going on with Carlito and the group, which I'm actually enjoying. Now to the former tag teams. It was a good accomplishment for Truth to have a championship win at Mania, but overall, Miz and Truth's title reign has been subpar with no interest. It makes me think of getting rid of the 24/7 title if the 24/7 title was a good idea, since Truth just makes appearances here and there with the Judgment Day, and Miz has been, in my opinion, completely forgotten. Does Miz turn heel or take some time off? I mean, I don't really care what the Miz does, to be frank with you. I think the Miz is an absolute talent, but I feel like he's just kind of there right now. He was a heel forever and ever and ever. And then he turns babyface more successfully than I thought they could. But then he just kind of been floating. It's really been the R-Truth story, and he's along for the ride. I don't care if he goes back to heel or not. I don't mind a Miz babyface run that's done properly. I don't care if you know what? Maybe that is the best thing for him, is to take time off, because you know what I would do with Truth? I would not bring back the 24/7 title. I think that has long since, run its course. I would have him in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and maybe tease winning. Imagine Truth winning that briefcase. Imagine the crowd when they see a moment for Truth that is realistic, that he could grab that championship opportunity and cash it in at any time. There's a case in my mind to make Truth, at minimum, a part of that 6-man ladder match. If not, call me crazy, have him win it. Do I think they're going to do that? No. They've got bigger plans for the briefcase. But boy, wouldn't that be a lot of fun. Lastly, speaking of tag teams, since we got a sooner rather than later tag team title change on Raw, can the same actually happen to Theory and Waller, as they could possibly drop the titles to Ciampa and Gargano at maybe Money in the Bank? or an episode of SmackDown. And just a thought, what if Queen, Nia Jax, and Tiffany Stratton become a legit tag team and challenge the Unholy Union for the tag titles in the near future? Since for the past few weeks, there's been some sort of teased alliance of Jax and Stratton. DJ Kuzmo signing off. Have a great weekend. See y'all in the Discord chat for Friday night SmackDown. Well, I'll talk about Jax and Stratton first. I would say no to that, and not because you're not correct. There's been evidence for them teaming up, and I think there actually is something there. Both women, I think, could benefit from it. Nia Jax won Queen of the Ring, remember? So she is on a collision course now with Bayley for that women's championship, the WWE Women's Championship, right? So you're not going to have her get in a tag team with Stratton for like 3 weeks just to have her focus back on Bayley. I mean, unless they really need a tag team match. It could be something temporary, but it wouldn't be anything where they would actually win the belts yet. So that's what I think, and poor Bayley has been forgotten. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, Bayley has been, she's on TV, but it's like she's not really there because she's not doing anything or saying anything of real significance. You talk about a flat win. I mean, the fans wanted her. They had a ho-hum build to WrestleMania. Hell of a match with Io and Bayley at Mania. They over-delivered in my mind compared to the build. And then she wins and everyone's like, all right, so how are we going to keep things moving? And they're not doing anything with her. So I think Nia Jax is slated to win at SummerSlam. I think she's a heavy favorite at SummerSlam. So the answer to your question, no, I don't think that tag team is going to happen. But Waller and Theory, I think, are going to drop it. They seem to be having issues. Ciampa and Gargano are, you can have a good match you can put any team against them and they're going to have a really good match. That's a great quality to have. Their personalities, of course, are lacking, and that's being kind. I think they could use some character development and they need it badly, but I think Theory and Waller are probably going to drop it soon too. There's a lot of changes in titles coming over the next 3 months. I'll just say that. All right. Let's talk to Rocky T. He says, besides your theory of the Usos reuniting when Roman gets beaten down by the new bloodline, I think Jimmy can use Solo as the example of why he turned on Jay and cost him the title because he did not want his younger brother to turn into the kind of tribal chief that Roman and Solo are. I think we're all done finally with any potential teasing of any other issues between Jimmy and Jay and Roman and Jimmy and whatever combination of those three you want to put in. We're done. I don't need any more explanations. I just need them to reunite because that's what they're building to, clearly. I don't need any more tomfoolery with Solo and the explanations. And I just need a very simple story told. They slowly come back to help one another. Jimmy maybe gets beat down, or Jay gets beat down. Here comes Jimmy or Jay to save the day for their brother, and then help Roman. It's all right there in front of them. There's no need to fool around with any of these more. I don't need any more explanations. Just put them back together because this is the match we want. Okay. Haikulo? I don't know who that is. No clue. He's 6'8", 265 pounds. He's signed with WWE. He's the nephew and adoptive son of Haku, making his brothers with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. I think and believe he will join Roman's side of the bloodline rather than have Cody or Sammy fill the spot. You could absolutely be right. I actually thought we were done with all the Samoans. How many Samoans are there? How many Samoans are there that are in the wrestling business right now? As Jim Ross once put it about the Dudleys, is there a Dudley farm? Remember? I don't know. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Right? With Spike Dudley, Devon, and Bubba. Anyway, it feels like they're just being grown at this point, literally on a farm. How many are there? But you're right. You want to keep this family oriented. You don't want to substitute. Then sure, if he has signed, then that makes total sense. Also, I think WWE needs to put some tag team gold on the new bloodline to give them a little bit more credibility. Not that Jacob Fatu doesn't add enough, but gold would be a nice visual. It would be, but here's the thing. They don't need that right now. That actually would be more of you'd be adding a layer you don't need to add because the story is so good right now and the anticipation for Roman's return is so high. I think adding tag team belts would kind of muddy the waters with the opponents that they're having because their opponents, this new bloodline, this rogue bloodline that Solo's put together, should be only at the moment anyway, Roman, Jimmy, Jay, and if it's also the son of Haku, adoptive son of Haku, then sure, right? That's what it should be focused on right now. You don't need any side stories. I understand your visual. I totally get it, and they could eventually get to that point, but I wouldn't do it yet. Also, we already have a tag team that's a heel, right, on SmackDown. We have heel tag teams. Our tag team on SmackDown. We don't need another transfer to another heel tag team. That's usually not how it goes, right? It always bounces back and forth between heel and face and heel. Not always, but majority of the time it does. Excuse me. So, thanks, Rocky. Let's go to our next patron, and it is Freeman. And Freeman says, "Looks like we've all been duped. We're so busy focusing on Liv and Dom, we didn't realize she's coming for everything. That means she's after Rhea's position in the Judgment Day. I love this. She just needs to convince the current members. With the tag title change, she's convinced JD and Finn. Carlito seems to be easy to please with a few TVs and nice things, leaving Priest and Dom. When Priest loses the world title match, he's out of the Judgment Day and has no say on Liv. I'm almost 100% certain this will happen, leaving only Dom that needs convincing." Yeah, probably. I think that's it's reasonable. What if she convinces Dom in the way that Finn and JD does by helping him win a title? Only the title she helps him win is to win with Money in the Bank. There are still a couple of slots for that match, and if Dom wins, we would have the perfect symmetry of the Judgment Day, with them rising to power once again, holding all the gold, and that they have Rhea, and they would have Money in the Bank with Dom, the Women's World Champion Liv, and the tag titles of JD and Finn. When Rhea returns, not only do we get Liv and Dom stuff, but also the rest of the group siding with Liv as rather than telling them to handle business, she helped them handle the business. Okay. Number one, Freeman, please cut down your emails. Please. I love you, buddy. But in half. How about this? Take what you did and slice it in half. Right? 50%. Right down the middle. That would be awesome. I do appreciate all of your email, Freeman, and everybody else. There are sometimes I abbreviate emails for time's sake and out of the respect for everyone else. So anyway, Freeman, I'll read it. I'll read it this one last time, okay? I know, I'm a jerk, but it's just out of the continuity of the show and time. So I like your idea, Freeman, okay? Because this does put a lot of pressure on Rhea's return, and what does she do? Who does she side with? Who sides with Rhea? Does anyone side with Rhea? What about Dom? It does do that. But is the focus all on Rhea? Are they doing this all just for Rhea? I mean, is it that big of a return? I mean, I don't mean in a kind of condescending way. It's a legitimate question. It's possible. Yeah. I think Liv is on her way to totally taking everything that Rhea had, which is going to make Rhea's return even more special. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun return for Rhea Ripley, which I think is going to be sooner than later. Okay, I think it's safe to say Solo's bloodline is now complete. A lot of speculation is going around about the whole fourth member of Roman's bloodline, who that'll be. But isn't it obvious? They already had an honorary babyface member who stands up for what's right. Sammy's the only choice that makes sense for the fourth member and can lead to Roman in a path towards redemption. But he's on Raw. So is Jay. Jimmy and Roman were both never drafted, leaving them to reform to Raw. Given this, I see Roman and Jimmy returning to SmackDown only to be beaten down heavily by Solo and crew, forcing a move to Raw where they can build bridges with Jay and Sammy. Roman's team stays on Raw and Solo on SmackDown before they finally decide face each other War Games. Here's what I think. I think they're just going to make a trade. Maybe make it easy. I don't think they're going to wait that long. I don't think they're going to wait that long to reunite them, because Roman's just going to get his ass kicked on a weekly basis once he returns. He might get a few shots in, a few spears, but ultimately Solo or Jacob Fatu is going to put him down. It can't be 4-on-1 every week, until they work it out till, no. They're just going to either not care about the draft rules, or they're going to make official trades, or make an exception or something. I think it'll be that simple, and it really should be that simple, because you don't want to build, November? You're going to build for another 4 months on that? No way, right? Okay, War Games are 5-on-5, where a man down on both sides. The obvious one missing is The Rock, who I can see supporting Solo's bloodline, but as Jacob Fatu becomes more violent, Solo loses control over the group. Eventually, they turn on Solo, removing him from The Rock's team, leading him into the arms of Roman and to be forgiven, reuniting the original bloodline and making War Games a 5-on-5 match just in time for Christmas when brand split rules don't matter. Well, I don't think ever the brand split rules ever mattered to them. I mean, like, truly. But that's interesting that Solo is already being talked about being forgiven. I say no. The reason, Solo's been the focal point of heat, and he's done a very nice job of it. The Rock, though, when he comes back, of course, is going to be on the opposing side of Roman. They can't be on the same side. And I think it's going to come down that Solo was taking orders from The Rock. And Solo's going to say, I was taking orders from the tribal chief, the one true tribal chief, The Rock, right? So we all assume he's talking about Roman, but it was really Rock he was talking to the whole time, taking orders from Rock behind the scenes the last few months. That's how I think it's probably going to play out. Could play out a million other ways. But I don't think you're going to go back to a forgiveness angle again with the bloodline. I know they're the OG bloodline, but then Solo gets lost in the shuffle again, and Roman's back to being the top dog, no pun intended. And Solo slides right back into his previous role. I mean, the purpose of Roman or Solo doing what he did is to elevate him to the next level. I think that would be kind of regressive to put him back in the same place after being forgiven and begging for forgiveness like a little, kind of a little baby, right? You don't want that. After all the work you've done on Solo, that's not how I would do it, but I understand what you're saying. I get it. And I think The Rock is absolutely on his way back and probably in the next couple of months. Maybe SummerSlam, probably long towards the end of the year, like you said, towards Survivor Series. He could be back in November. I think we're maybe about 4 months away from The Rock getting back into the ring. 5-on-5, Rock is in that War Games match. Roman and his team, Rock and his team. But then again, where does Cody fit in? If it's Rock and Cody, Cody's probably on Roman's team, and then The Rock and Cody have a little interaction that leads them to WrestleMania, which I don't want Rock and Cody. I'm sorry, it doesn't interest me. Just like, I don't need it. I don't know, because I don't want The Rock to put over Cody. Mainly. I'm just, I don't know, not interested in it, but to me, it's Rock Roman. For the love of God, I've been saying this for 6 years. Rock Roman, or Rock Brock. However the hell they get there, I don't even care. Imagine Rock Brock. I keep saying it. I've said it for like 10 years. But the last time they met is SummerSlam 2002. 22 years ago. 22. So that's how I would do it. Of course, with the storylines going on, that's not going to happen this year. Maybe not ever. All right. Where are we going? Milan. Love the show. I miss your current state of WWE each week with Anthony. Are you guys doing that or taking a break? It's temporarily on pause because of my schedule. Nothing to do with him. It's all on me. My fault. It's we're just trying to get my schedule kind of flatlined out and calm down so that we can get back on track. So, wanted to give some predictions. So, okay. You think Priest will beat Rollins, but JD turns on Priest after the match and kicks him out of Judgment Day. This will turn Priest babyface. I think Finn is pulling the strings behind the scenes and making a new JD and Liv Morgan, with Liv Morgan involved. Oh, you mean JD? You can't use the JD acronym with actually JD McDonough in the group. It's confusing. Okay. Priest and Rhea create their own new faction, and a face Priest then goes up against the heel Gunther at SummerSlam. No. I will say not yet anyway. When it comes to SummerSlam, it's Rollins and Gunther. It's Rollins, because what do you do with Rollins? What do you do with Rollins at SummerSlam? You only got a month to build that. Because, by the way, this is a weird year. We have SummerSlam super early in August. The PLEs are being, I mean, it's like every 2 to 3 weeks, it feels like we have a PLE. And then this year, Royal Rumble's in February. Like, what? That's a crime against humanity. How are we having Royal Rumble in February? But that's the way it falls this year. Okay. So let's see here. I think Sammy's IC run is coming to an end. I think either Braun Breaker beats him or Chad wins Money in the Bank and uses it to cash in on Sammy. The timing coincides with Roman's return, as I think a new bloodline will form on Raw with Jimmy, Roman, Jay, and Sammy. Yeah, okay. I mean, Sammy is right now the fill-in, I think. You could argue he is a respectable fill-in, makes sense. He just has to have some kind of amends with Roman after all their interactions, a year and a half ago. So that could absolutely be the case. But again, how would you get them to SmackDown? Just bring them over. I mean, who knows? As I've said, I don't think they're going to care about the brand rules with that big of a storyline. But Braun Breaker, I think he could absolutely beat Sammy. Sammy, like so many that we've talked about, like Bayley, like Truth and Miz, are all just kind of have been floating out there since they won at WrestleMania. It's been very underwhelming. Sammy, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Sammy isn't the one the fans actually wanted to face Gunther at WrestleMania for the IC belt. The fans didn't. They settled for him, but it was Chad's year for that. So, 3, and finally, I think that Cody beats Solo at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam, and somehow Heyman does something to cost or piss off Solo. Solo and the Bloodline have Paul Heyman concerned and are ready for a beatdown. Then, that is when the music will hit. Roman's going to get a big pop regardless, but imagine the pop for coming out to save his manager. I also think it's possible Roman tells Solo he did some soul searching and mended some fences while he was gone, and the Usos music hits to even the odds a little more. Yes, that's also an excellent idea. There's really not an awful way to bring Roman back. The fans just want Roman back. This is a great idea too, because Paul Heyman's been really struggling with the moral quandaries of supporting Solo, even though he knows it's not coming from Roman. He's being lied to, but is also supporting the Bloodline. He's torn. He wants Roman back, but he's not there. He's not returning his call. It's all these things. So, yeah, I think that's a great finish to SummerSlam. He looks like he's going to Samoan spike Paul Heyman for accidentally or maybe purposefully costing him the match against Cody, who obviously is going to retain for the time being anyway. I think, by the way, I've said this, I think Cody's retaining at least for a year minimum. And then, Roman Reigns' music hits, roof blows off the place. He spears everyone. Maybe he starts to get beat down. Here come the Usos. I love that. I think that's great. It's better than even anything I've come up with. So I like that. So your War Games prediction. It's so funny. All of us are talking about War Games here. Jimmy, Jay, Sammy versus Solo, Fatu, the Tongas. If they do 5-on-5, which, by the way, guys, do they have to do 5-on-5? Is that written in the rules? I don't know. Maybe it is. But if they do it, Cody joins Roman's team, and Rock returns the night before Survivor Series and said he's the head of the new Bloodline, joining Solo, and we get an early taste of Roman, Rock, and Cody versus Rock. Yeah, very good. Very good, Milan. I like your very simple logic, and I mean that in a complimentary way. All right. Let's as always, because I am terrible at this, I got to go to Patreon. Some of you email me directly on Patreon, and there have been times where I've been a total jerk and totally forgotten. So let's go to Patreon and look at some of our direct messages here. And, we don't have any. We don't. Okay, well, that's embarrassing. Oh, it's so embarrassing. All right, so I think we have actually a voicemail or maybe 2. We'll see how many. Let's throw the voicemail out there and see who it is.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore. So I wanted to talk about the whole more about Liv Morgan, but not about Liv really too much about really don't really knowing why to do a Liv lean on TV and that seeing it's the pay-per-view. Maybe it's because there's going to be the matches are going to be pretty long at the pay-per-view itself with the 2 ladder matches and the 6-man tag and Rollins and McIntyre. But so that's the reason. But when it comes to I want to talk about Rollins real fast. I'm glad that he's back, and I don't after what happened on Monday with Gunther and Rollins and Priest, I'm starting to wonder if they're going to have I'm very conflicted because part of me wants to see Priest and Balor in a championship match, but since Balor and McDonough are the tag team champions because of Liv Morgan, I've heard that they're gonna have Priest no longer part of Judgment Day and then was aligned with Rhea Ripley and then Liv will be with Dominic and Balor and JD McDonough because they helped. She helped them. Win the titles on Monday. So, but I think what my main thing is that what's going to happen with Seth Rollins after this match with Priest? Is he gonna? I think that's my main question there. What do you think's going to happen with Seth Rollins after this match with Priest? Because it's not really about Seth. It's about, like I said, it's about the Judgment Day and Liv Morgan. So what's going to happen with Seth after Money in the Bank? That's my main question and what I have there. But I enjoyed the segments between Liv and Zelina and Seth and Damian and Gunther. But that's it. It's your call. Bye.
Hey, Kyle. So what do I think happens with Seth Rollins? I think he wins. I think he becomes champion. After Money in the Bank, he's champion going into SummerSlam against Gunther. That's what I think happens. And if it doesn't, let's play it out. So say Seth Rollins loses, Priest is still champion. Priest is going to face Gunther at SummerSlam. You could still throw Rollins in there. I just don't know any scenario in which you have Seth Rollins not involved in the world title match at SummerSlam. Why? Seth Rollins' mission statement the second he came back, what was last Monday Night Raw, was to say he came back specifically for the world title. That's why he's here, he said anyway. So I just don't see how, it's not somehow involving Seth at SummerSlam with the world title on the line. Again, it could be triple threat with Priest, Gunther, and Rollins. I have no problem with that. Or it could be just a one-on-one. But then what does Priest do? Maybe he's involved with Finn, but Finn's in the tag team. It gets weird. If you put it my way, I think it's a triple threat. I think Rollins wins at Money in the Bank. Then you have a triple threat for the world title at SummerSlam with Priest, Rollins, and Gunther. So, Kyle, always good to hear from you. Let's go to, I think we have one more. Let's go to one more and see who it is.
Alex, the French guy here. Matt, I wanted to continue the discussion that we had last week about Backlash France and in general shows, televised show, pay-per-view, PLEs, where you don't understand actually what the people are saying and they are maybe hijacking the show for their own purposes and not reacting to the events of the show. So accordingly, and just like chanting randomly during the show. I want to address like two arguments, two sides of the same coin. I want to say that I definitely understand the point of view where you watch a show when you don't understand what is said, and also that you are seeing some reactions that doesn't belong to the match. I definitely can understand that. And I want to provide also why French people act like they acted and why they make Backlash historical in a way. And it's definitely, I think, the pinnacle of wrestling in France because we never had a pay-per-view in France. And I think that people thought that way. So they said, okay, we are going to show the world how we are and how we say things and everything. The thing is, there's also something else, why chanting in France and in French language is that there is a lot, and I mean a lot of French people that don't speak English at all or good English. Maybe you can hear in some of my sentences as myself. So I believe that's one of the reasons of why people were chanting in French. And for the chants that were occurring off script and off the match, so with no reaction to the match, I think it's definitely because people were they wanted to show their enjoyment as much as possible, and I can understand some people that they didn't like that. But let's also say that Backlash was very a B-level pay-per-view, and yeah. This is also like good to see wrestling fans that are that motivated. Bye, guys. See you next week.
Alex, fun conversation here. So I have no issue with people going to the events and being loud. I don't want anyone thinking that just because I don't understand what they're saying, and it's just annoying. It is. I mean, hearing chants but not knowing what anyone's saying, it detracts from your viewing experience. I don't care if you're French and don't understand English, or you're English and you don't understand French. Whatever the scenario is, it's inherently annoying when you can't understand it. But I also appreciate the passion. I do. Loud. You guys are certainly loud. Louder than any crowd I've heard in a long time. So sure, the volume was higher, and you guys are realizing, hey, this may be our only shot at a PLE. We never get them. Let's show them how we are. Well, that's fine. By all means, go have a good time. Chant your chants. Do your sporting event chants. Do what you do. Whatever. It's fine. I have no issue with people doing what they do in their culture, right? As long as it's respectful and you're not doing something that is flagrantly wrong. You go to events. You chant how you want to chant, again, within reason, with what I mean by that is I don't want people doing or saying things that are just absolutely egregious, like just disgusting chants. Right? I'm not saying you guys did that, but I'm saying I have parameters in my mind. But if that's how France is and you guys are excited to be there, then more power to you. I'm not telling anyone to change how they act at a wrestling show if, again, it's respectable, and that's just how your culture go and acts when you're trying to show your passion at a sporting event. Cool, man. Great. That's all very, that's very cool. It also, again, still doesn't change the viewing experience for me. It doesn't, what I mean by that is it doesn't change how it can be quite annoying when it feels like the crowd is just being loud to be loud, and look at us, the attention's on us. Look at how many different chants we can chant, and whatever, sing along songs you guys do. Like, even again, imagine if it was the US doing this, right? Just take any country that does not speak a language of the country you're in. Okay. And say you're not bilingual. Say you only understand your native tongue. You're hearing an overseas crowd, say it's the US, pretend you didn't understand English, and you're hearing a US crowd just be incredibly loud, distractingly loud, not helping the match, almost feel like they're not reacting to what's happening in the ring, that they're just being loud to get attention on themselves. And then what they're saying on top of it, on top of them being obnoxious, and it's, again, seemingly not like they're paying attention to what's going on in the ring, you can't understand what they're saying, right? So if we were doing that in the US, you can't understand what we're saying, we're being obnoxiously loud, you'd be annoyed too. And again, it's nothing against France, nothing against French people. I'm sure that overseas it's annoying for some US crowds. You guys are probably tired of hearing some of our crowds. Some of our crowds are snooze fests, but I also am kind of accustomed to how crowds react for wrestling. I mean, watching wrestling for nearly 30 years, I have kind of gotten used to how crowds react, when they react, what it should feel and sound like. And I've learned, you guys taught me, and I don't mean this as a backhanded compliment, I just mean this as an actual learning experience for me, that louder isn't always necessarily better when it comes to improving the pro wrestling viewing experience. I know Triple H will say differently. Loud, look at the decibels. How many decibels? Oh, a sound warning or whatever was put out. Like, that's all fun and games. And he could say, oh, look at how passionate these fans are and how loud they are. My God, the volume. It's just about volume. I would argue that it's not just about volume. And this kind of expands on my previous issues with Vince McMahon, who would always say, are they being loud? Oh, well, hell, then you're doing something right. And it, to me, was a cop-out. If you're a babyface getting cheered, or a babyface getting booed, rather, they would use the cop-out, kind of inverse logic of, well, they're being loud and that's what matters. It's like, no, That's not the only thing that matters here. They're telling you they feel the opposite of what you're trying to push on them. You know, that's something they're trying to tell you. I wouldn't take that and go, wow, they're just being loud. Oh, you know, a successful day. Check. No, right? Kind of the same logic here with any crowd that is being loud just for loud sake. To me, it should be about what's going on in the ring. If it's being reactive to what's happening in the ring and there's not these side sing-along chants that have nothing to do with what's going on in the ring and it's just to go into business for yourself, I don't care if it's a U.S. crowd. I would hammer U.S. crowds for that. I'd hammer my own hometown for that. I don't like it. So it's not just, I'm not discriminating against France. It's annoying. I don't understand French because when I hear chants, it's double annoying when it's, again, sing-alongs I don't know on top of the language I don't know. It's just the way it is. But again, if my hometown of Albany here in New York were doing the same thing, I would hammer them for it. And you know what? We are not the most loud crowd in the world by far. We are kind of average. We are an average U.S. crowd. All right. We've been loud at times and we've had some awesome moments here, but I don't want you to think because I'm sitting here trying to give you reasons why I was annoyed by the crowd at Backlash, that I also don't hold my crowd in the US and my own local crowd in Albany to the same standard. That's the key. I'm not holding anyone to different standards. I hold France to the same standard I hold the US crowds to. Now we know international crowds are louder, and that sometimes can result in a better viewing experience. So anyway, I just, to me, it's oversimplification to say louder is always better for wrestling. I think that has been debunked. Okay. And you would agree with me if it was the reverse situation. I think you would. I think most people would, from any country that hears chants from another country from a language they don't understand, that it doesn't seem like they're paying attention to what's going on in the ring. You mentally are trying to pay attention to the ring and the match and hear the commentary, and the crowd seemingly is just in another world doing their own, nursery rhymes and doing their own sing-along songs, and it's detracting from your viewing experience, so it becomes an annoyance. I think I've said it enough and made my point here, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the explanation. So, all right, Alex, thank you, buddy. Think that might do it. Do I dare say I say that might do it for the mailbag here. A little bit shorter than normal. So I guess some of you are like, whoa, what were you complaining about the long emails for? You could have eaten up a few more minutes. Yeah, well, it's kind of the way it goes. I mean, it's just, I thought it was going to go longer than it did. Okay. But I do appreciate short, concise emails. It contributes to the nice pace of the show. And patrons, as always, do get priority. So if you are a patron, you heard those patron emails right up front. I am still talking with some of you. While we have filled our SmackDown spot, our SmackDown review spot, we are going to still be talking, and I have been speaking with some of you on the side about maybe still doing, like, filling in for people when they're not there, or doing maybe a different little side show. I mean, there's still other options. Even though we have the SmackDown side filled with Amanda from the UK, we are going to be still talking. I'm still going to be conversing with some of you on potentially doing something with the show, even though the SmackDown side has been filled for the time being. But that'll do it for me, guys, for this Friday. What the heck is, what did I say? June 28th. We're almost in July. Unbelievably. And then there goes summer. Here comes fall, and we're right back into football season, which is it's going to be fun. But all right. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Go to Patreon if you want an ad-free experience. Best place for it, patreon.com/WWE podcast. Or, of course, Apple Podcast does allow you to go ad-free. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast if you love us. If you don't, cool. Throw us a 1-star review and give us your best shot. That's fine too. I'm always open to criticism. It doesn't bother me. And also on WWEpodcast.com, another place to go if you're interested in joining us on the website side of things. We, believe it or not, still have a website. That's still a thing. Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. I'll be back Sunday. I'll be back Sunday for the week in review, and I'm going to be, just for your own edification and really giving you a little bit more information than you need. I'm going to be maybe partaking in the adult beverage on Saturday night. So if I'm not in the best shape Sunday, well, then I have an excuse. At 39 years old, it's kind of embarrassing that still happens to me, but whatever. It's summertime. I need a night or two to do that. And anyway, you wouldn't have known if I didn't say anything, but sometimes I overshare. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care. And yes, I will talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.